So the other night, I was like all the way in my feelings. And, I called up a friend, a really good friend of mine, and, we proceeded, to have a conversation. And at some point, I started off talking about, my day and how, this whole campaign was really getting frustrating, especially in light of, this recent, surge of, what appeared to be like a unified black vote moving in, Biden's direction, and, how, really, pissed off I was that, we would, honestly, as a people, after, pretty much slashing and burning, Biden, especially when, Kamala Harris took her jabs at Biden, I was really in this place where, I was thinking, that Beyonce song, you got a big ego, and that idea, that big ego, there's so many, leaders in our community, who have these massive egos, and, particularly a lot of powerful women. I was, so I'm in this conversation. Let's get to my conversation as I was in my feelings. These are the things I was in my feelings about. So I'm having this conversation, and I was, hit with this reality, not as if I didn't already, kind of get it. Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls. I'm starting to really believe that, girls run the world. I mean, this girl tried to convince me. I was, maybe last year or so, I was, picking up a young lady, and, she had a stroller, and, so I pull up and, I see the woman standing, at the curb talking to another woman, and, then there's the carriage. So I, just patiently wait, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then finally, she walked over. And as she's walking over, she, opens, the back door of the car. And I get out almost instinctively to walk around. And I popped the trunk. I was going to, grab the stroller and throw it in the trunk. So as I walk around, I'm looking, and, I don't see him. I don't see the stroller. And I'm like, and then, the sister says to me, "Oh, no, don't worry about it. It wasn't a stroller, it was a car seat." And I was like, wow, okay. It was just, sitting there on wheels, like, and it's apparently, there's this, this transformer, like, stroller that, you can pop the wheels up, and, it doubles into a car seat, put it in the back seat of the car, and boom, that's it. So I get in the car, and I, pull off, and immediately, she says to me, "I think I'm going to need you to put a step on because I'm late." And, ooh, Lord Jesus, I almost bust a blood vessel. And it's funny because, when you are working, for the people, and let me be very clear, when you're working for the people, there's a beautiful book, one of my favorites, To Die for the People, by Huey P. Newton. And, working for our people, whew, that can be exhausting emotionally, because, my impulse was to, start tearing in, to the sisters in, just illogical inconsiderate. So, you gotta laugh to keep from crying. That's one of my mottos. You gotta laugh to keep from crying. So every time I'm hit with a blow, a body blow, I laugh. It's the instinct. The laugh just springs out. I'm conditioned that way now. So I bust out laughing, and as I'm laughing, I'm saying to this girl, like, you just sat there for like 10 minutes talking to your friend, and now you got the nerve to talk about you late. And let me tell you why I love our people. I really do. Especially our illogical sisters. I might have a big problem with them and their illogical realities, but nothing like, these sisters on the planet, okay? Because in that smidgen of a moment where, she saw or felt my energy about to spill out into rage, or, this controlled rage. Another powerful book I'm thinking of, George Jackson, he wrote a book called Blood in My Eye, and he talks about this impulsivity of the black man, this conditioned impulsivity. And, so and he talks about that impulsivity, from the perspective of this concept called controlled rage. Okay, so some of us, sit with a controlled rage, okay? So as she saw my energy about to topple over, immediately she hit me with almost the cutest, acknowledgement to my right to be upset, but then her jab that came, almost instinctively. Oh, we women, you gonna have to deal with that. You got a woman, and then it's like, she goes into this diatribe about how, women get that, and she wasn't wrong. That is one of our, burdens as black men. We love our sisters, and oftentimes it doesn't show in many cases because of, our own, explosive egos and the clashing of our egos. No one wanting to, fall back and play the humble, or, just, settle the difference and just move on. We don't have that yet. Okay. Some of us do, because, we have a lot of beautiful relationships that are functional and, strong, and they're, setting a high standard, for, the rest of us, especially in light of the fact that, in the last, few years, a lot of emphasis has been placed on, this idea that black men are just not present in the community or in these families, which is like so totally from truth. Okay, because black men are surround us. Okay, so we're here. All right, so this idea of the ego clash, so I pretty much settled. My spirit settled. We got into this, what ended up being a great conversation. Okay, and I mentioned this reality that many of us face, because it's probably one of the biggest factors that's leading us to being unable to unify as a culture. Okay, and other cultures see that and make judgment on it. But no one can really make judgment or place judgment on the tumultuous relationship between black men and black women, because you have to have that experience. Even if that experience sits in your DNA somewhere. I was, watching a documentary, last night, Dr. John Henry Clark, and the title of, what was the title of that documentary? Brother that I was in a conversation with, Brother Lawrence Watson. He's he's one of our Ivy League Du Boisian type scholars. Speaking of egos, but I do, you can sense when you're dealing with a brilliant brother, because ultimately they're at the end of whatever conversation you're having, there's that nudge of I'm better than you, that nudge, so he gave me this, and I'm intrigued by the brother because he pretty much the statement that he learned under Dr. John Henry Clark, that alone makes me very interested in talking with and getting to know this brother further. But so he finished off the statement by giving me an assignment, so to speak, to watch this documentary called A Great and Mighty Walk. And I'm almost certain I saw it when back in college at some point. I know I saw it, as I was a, English and African history major. Well, they called it Africana Studies at, Rutgers University back then. I'm not sure what the department is called now, but I was watching it last night, and, one of the things, Dr. John Henry Clark, was painting in the documentary was, it was basically, dealing with a lot of the influences that, Dr. John Henry Clark, had that influenced him, to make that, walk towards, trying to get to a place of solid, of a solid understanding of the African history that, was almost wiped away. Okay, he was, explaining how he went to one of his teachers in school, and he told the teacher he was interested in African history before the European, and the teacher pretty much said, you want to learn about African history, study European history, because there's no African history before the European. So almost that's what the he was explaining to him. And this lit Dr. John Henry Clark's pursuit of trying to learn everything he could about the African diaspora, which and he ends up becoming probably one of our most brilliant scholars. Definitely in that Mount Rushmore of black scholars that helped to establish or help us reconnect with those African roots that we spring from. So getting back to this idea of the elusive unity that we experience as blacks in this culture, makes me think about what Rodney King said in 1992. He said, can't we all just get along? Can't we all just get along? And when you think about it, do we really get along? Do we really? As we, move further into 2020, this America, that seems, to be flirting with the same, the very conditions that were present when the country broke out in civil war in 1861. We're almost dealing with the exact same conditions today. And, so we got these Democrats and Republicans. And literally, when it boils down to it, there are two old white men left in, the Democratic run to the presidency. You have Bernie Sanders, who I'm very disgusted. Another reason, my disgust level is so high with the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders. And, I almost feel sorry, for Bernie Sanders. And, check that out, feeling sorry for, this, one percenter, at the end of the day. Okay. So Bernie Sanders should have been propelled after Iowa straight towards the nomination and straight towards the general election. Okay, that has always been my understanding of the importance of Iowa. Okay, Iowa, predominantly white, population, almost representing this quote unquote heartland of America, this heartland, where the country is and what the country feels. That first primary in Iowa is so important, okay, to the primary process, because it really launches. If it wasn't for Barack Obama winning in Iowa against Hillary Clinton, okay, black people wouldn't have voted for Barack Obama. Okay, the vast majority of black people were supporting Hillary Clinton. Okay, Hillary Clinton, had especially women, especially black women. Okay, everyone was gun ho. First female president, Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama's win in Iowa shocked all of us. Okay? And when it came to us, because usually we are very, we know how to gamble. Black people, we supposed to know how to gamble. And we don't bet on losing. We bet on winners. Think about football season, how some brothers have a heart attack when their team loses. Nobody want to lose. Okay? No one wants to lose. All right? So when Barack Obama won in Iowa, it propelled him straight to the presidency. That was supposed to happen with Bernie Sanders in Iowa. And when these grand old politicians, when things go against their predictions, okay, because their predictions are not just their predictions have to come true. Okay, that's just the way I guess they're built, because they have that winner mentality too. Okay, it was that winner spirit and that winner fortitude that crippled the Native American. Okay, because they weren't going to lose. All right, that's the American spirit. We're going to win by any means necessary. Okay, that message had to be planted in Malcolm's head, being an American. By any means necessary. Okay, if we can't do this, if we can't handle this on some gentleman shit, we gonna handle this on some gangster shit. Like, either way, okay, we're not losing. That's our mentality. So we weren't voting Barack Obama. We just knew a black man had no chance at being the president of the United States. No chance. Like literally, the energy was so high after Iowa for Obama that, that momentum carried him into the presidency. Well, the way the establishment has come together and, by any means necessary, have broken down or are breaking down, the candidacy of Bernie Sanders speaks to how deep the rabbit hole goes. Okay, the rabbit hole goes deep. Okay. Now, let's ask that question to black folk, where, can we all just get along? Because there's a divide in the black community as well. And, one of the earliest examples of, blacks, in disunity, okay, that classic moment when, Booker T. Washington, okay, in 1895, he was giving a speech at, the Cotton States and International Exposition. Okay, he was an invited speaker. And, white people loved Booker T. Washington. They loved Booker T. Washington. He was a, former slave. Booker T. Washington was a slave. Okay, he, experienced plantation life. He experienced it. And, coming off the plantation, Booker T. Washington had an overarching understanding of what it was going to take. Okay, he thought out the trajectory, what it was going to take to properly prepare the slave, the former slave. Okay, he was on the plantation. He saw the high levels of ignorance of the slave. The staged docility of the slave. You tend to take on the personality of the complexion you put on. This is why I have such a problem with this concept, that has been drilled in our head called, code switching. Let's put on this show face for these people because our livelihood is dependent upon that. And I think our continuance of that practice, is why we're in this moment where we watched 85% of those black voters during Super Tuesday, propel Biden back to the front runner position, overtaking, Bernie Sanders. There's your, there's your, 400 million, well-spent dollars, Bloomberg. There it is. I don't think for 1 minute that Bloomberg intended, to do what he did, because of Trump. No, I don't believe that at all. Okay? He saw the bigger threat in his mind, which was Bernie Sanders. Okay? The entire establishment, are see. Now this man is close to the reins of power. Okay? And anytime an opposing force, when two forces occupy the same space at the same time, that would be impossible. Okay, because two bodies can't occupy the same space at the same time. So some force has to act upon one. And that force that acted upon Bernie Sanders was the establishment. And guess what? That establishment includes, black leaders. That includes black leaders. So, you have this former slave, at this convention or this exposition, And white people are in love with this guy because, he is painting a picture to this, this Southern racist, okay? Who is more concerned with the equity that is coming to black people, okay? They're more concerned with black people under the impression that, they can, now, look white people in their eyes, so to speak. Let's get back to some of those black codes, that were on the books, like reckless eyeballing. You couldn't even look a white man in the eyes. Okay, that could lead to a lynching. Okay, depending on how you responded. So, white people are worried, okay, in the South. And lo and behold, here comes Booker T, with the ultimate, let's pull ourselves up by our bootstraps attitude. Booker T. Washington was proposing to the world, to the country, that, we could all maintain our own individuality. Okay, black people could be with black people, white people could be with white people. We don't have to be integrated. We can be as separate as the fingers on our hand. Oh, he is talking about, niggas staying in their place. Okay, let's listen to him. Okay? But Washington was brilliant. He was brilliant. This is one of the things, Dr. John Henrik Clarke spoke about. Washington was brilliant. He knew the time. And he had experience and understanding of the quote unquote problem. He had an understanding of the slave. He was a slave. Okay? Now, Washington, when he gave his historically popular Atlanta Compromise speech, okay? The American white aristocratic class had already identified, okay, Booker T as their chosen leader. Let me say that again. Their chosen leader, okay? Booker T. Washington was probably the most powerful black man in America of his time. Rumor had it that, Rockefeller himself, took Booker T to the bank at night, opened up the doors to the bank, and went out and got him $100,000 and put it in his hand. And then he let him come back every year to take the interest off the money that was in the bank. That's how much they love Booker T. You talk shit about Booker T, a rival newspaper said some shit about Booker T. Booker T had the kind of money where he'd go buy the newspaper. Okay? That's the kind of money he had. Booker T. Washington gave us a very, very strong conventional understanding of education. He built Tuskegee. He was building institutions. So he was using that money, okay, that he was, getting from the establishment, so to speak. And he was using those resources to uplift, the former slave who had no skills outside of the skills that came with, this agricultural cotton life. Okay, so, and then on the flip side of, Booker T was, W.E.B. Du Bois. Arguably another, another one of those, powerful scholars in the black diaspora who, is also, probably, he's probably right next to, John Henrik Clark on that Mount Rushmore, black intellectuals, okay, who gave, us a understanding of our place, in the universe. Okay, these, this very privileged, okay, very privileged scholar, W.E.B. Du Bois, who, we're talking about, a Harvard, okay, this is where this man at Harvard intellect, okay, so Booker T and Du Bois represented a clash of ideology, okay, a clash of ideology, that disunity of perspective, that disunity that comes with, us not, whether we're conditioned this way or we, just have this inner, because some people like to say that we really, have this, inner hatred for ourselves, which a lot of that, I just don't agree with, but when we were just walking off the plantation, Booker T was about nation building, okay? And, nation management, because, that's where a lot of whites came into play, as black people started to get political power. They needed race managers, those individuals who would manage the race. Okay, Booker T was probably the first race manager. Today we got hundreds of race managers, sit at the top of, who sit at the top of the black world. Okay, they are, they're the liaison. They're between worlds, negotiating. Contemporary politicians, a lot of them justify their reality today by, okay, we're gonna, because a lot of them think like Booker T. Okay, a lot of politicians today, black politicians, they think like Booker T. They're in office, and yes, they're gonna compromise. They're gonna compromise. I don't know one successful politician that hasn't made a compromise, with the establishment that, that was harmful, with some things that were harmful to the community. Okay? They compromise. But then the justification comes into play when they, when they get a few things, for their compromise, and then they bring those things back to the community, and, they place that, that carrot in the face of the people. Okay, guys, I had to, I had to sell, our water rights, to the, to another township in order to get a loan to fix a problem that should have been fixed, decades ago. And that's what we do. Or, we want jobs here, so, you want jobs, so we're going to bring this company into, your city, and we're going to take over all this property over here and build this, hospital, and we're going to employ, maybe 10% of the community residents. So 100,000 people were displaced, from their homes, so that this hospital could be built. This was UMD&J. Okay, they displaced hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, cleared them out. to knock down the area and build a hospital, UMD&J. And it looks, to the person from the outside looking in, or the race manager, that's a really good compromise. But ask those 100,000 people whose lives have been totally, ripped up already, feeling like a tumbleweed in America. The black man, we've been rolling with the wind, since we got here. Okay, so, and here's the real kicker. Instead of, talking to the people, come to the people. Come to the people. Talk to, the people and see what they want. These politicians go, or half cocked by themselves, and that's part of that ego thing. Okay? Ego. Nothing should, put you in a place or a space where, you believe that, you can rely on your own understanding, and lead people. Okay, so it was the inauguration of President Trump, okay, that pretty much almost represented or acted as the line in the sand. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for half of the country. Okay? And it split, down the line of blacks as well, but not as much as in the percentages. We're talking about like 80+% of, blacks who are literally in a place where it is never Trump. Okay? They're like never Trumpers. So that 85% almost is putting out or projecting the conclusion that we are never going to vote Trump. Okay? And then there's a growing percentage of blacks in the community who are supporting Trump. Okay, so we don't have any definitive candidate, okay, who's gonna challenge Trump. There's no one definitive. Okay, you got half of that black 85% are Bernie Sanders people. Okay, and then another large percentage of that 85% are swinging with Biden. Okay, and there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of ugly back and forth between just those two groups, split within the black community. Okay? And then you have that, percentage, that growing percentage of blacks that are in support of Trump. Okay? So now, if we continue to walk down this path leading up to November, remember the election, the general election is in November. Okay, so literally, we're talking about in the time it takes for a woman to birth a child. Okay, that's how long, we're talking. So think about that man, just had a baby and he ain't got no job. Think about that man. His woman just came to him and told him that she's pregnant, and he got to do something. Okay, now, he might, get a job the next day and literally find himself working those whole 9 months, or it might take some time, but that's where we are. Okay, we're like 8-9 months away from the election. And, the level of vitriol and separation between the the far left of the Democratic Party and the centrists of the Democratic Party are diametrically opposed. Okay, and there's a constituency among both that are trumpeting the, pun intended, trumpeting the call to unity once the Democrats get to a place where a nominee is selected. Even though now Bernie Sanders has already been marginalized, cooked and sauteed, and likely to roast. Okay, because of all the entities operating against him. So 9 months away, 2 potential Democratic candidates, both, at least one group. Okay, now they've done this already. When Bernie Sanders was robbed of the nomination with Hillary Clinton, many of them did not vote. They did not come out and vote. And everyone was, boasting that rhetoric. If you don't come out and vote, a non-vote is a vote for Trump. Do you really think they care? Like, seriously, do you really think they care at that point? Okay, when their heart's been, broken, the same corrupt Democratic Party that has said, that has shown its teeth when it comes to corruption. And then, it's like they come right back around the corner. It's like getting robbed by Omar. Think of it a while. It's like getting robbed by Omar. Okay, Omar's walking up the street, broad daylight, with a shotgun. You got everybody on the block, like, in the community, like, Omar coming, everybody's running. And Omar walk right up to you and rob you. Debo, he'll walk right up to you and rob you. What you got on my 40? Take his chain, took his bike, knocked him out. Walk right up on you and rob you. And then come back the next day. Yo, you want to chill? That's what this is like. Okay, the Democratic Party, they Debo us all the time. Year after year, they Debo us. The race managers, they get their beak wet. They get their beak wet. And they're good. And they go back to the people. They shuck and jive, they dance. And life goes on. Life goes on. So I'm proposing a paradigm shift in thinking. A compromise, so to speak. Think about if Du Bois and Booker T had been able to see eye to eye back then. Think about it. If they were able to see eye to eye back then and unify. Okay? What if, Du Bois didn't hate on Garvey? Okay? Garvey saw immediately that, Du Bois was a bourgeois scholar. He saw it immediately. Okay? And Du Bois didn't like Garvey. But imagine if Garvey and Du Bois had got together. Imagine if Malcolm and Martin had came together. Imagine. I remember I called in, maybe last year, a year or 2 years ago. I called in, to the Eric Dawson show. And I suggested to Dawson that, why don't you, go down to City Hall in Newark and just join Baraka. Join them. Join the campaign and unify Newark together. And you know what he said? This is on the air. He said that last caller, is dangerous. Like, he literally said that last caller is dangerous. And then blocked me. Like, it is dangerous proposing black unity? That's where we've come? We've come to a place where it is dangerous to unify with black people. All of the money is being bet on Trump. All of it. It's like when Quick and Sugar in Harlem Nights, they wanted to beat Calhoun. You know what I'm saying? So they put all their money on the white boy. And Calhoun knew that, that white boy was going to get murdered. By what was it? Jack Johnson. So he was going to get murdered by him. And then he said, you know what? Man, if they put the fix in. They put the fix in. He was like, let's take our money. Go put $500,000 on the white boy. We at a place right now where half the country is unified, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, until death do the country part. Half the country is unified, and they're unified under the Trump banner. They're unified under the Republican Party. Okay, there is no convincing half the country, okay, to walk away from Trump. And it's ironic because we're turning around doing the same thing. It's like after Barack Obama, a lot of people think that, Trump made it to the presidency because of Obama. It was like, this middle America, this white America, woke up and said, you know what? We are going to, anyone but Obama or anyone but a Democrat, anyone but Hillary. And they organized and they put their candidate in office. And we're doing the exact same thing today as blacks. We're yelling and screaming, anyone but Trump, anyone but Trump, anyone but Trump. Like literally, I think if Buttigieg would have gotten the nomination, that same 85% of blacks would have voted for Buttigieg. And don't get me wrong. I think Buttigieg is a very, smart young man. Okay, but, being smart and intelligent isn't enough. It isn't enough. When I first got into education, and I came in education in 1995. 1995, I came in education. Those were the glory days of education. Actually, those glory days were coming to a halt. As this corporate thing started to take hold, and principals started to get younger and younger. But there was a time when you couldn't even think about walking into a principal's job unless you had at least 10 years of hardcore classroom teaching experience. Couldn't even think about it. That's when the country, some aspects of the country made sense. Couldn't be a principal unless you had at least 10 years of experience. Now you get some social worker, who takes an exam and walks into a principal's job. Like, how ludicrous it is today. It's ludicrous. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? We don't just throw our money away. Even though the Democratic Party, used black rage, to force an impeachment that you already knew what the outcome was going to be, but you did it anyway. And then it's like a gambler, roll the dice. Get that damn kid out of here. You know what? The kid give me bad luck. That was just a fart moment where I was thinking about, that Harlem Nights, one of my favorite movies. But, we're about to roll the dice and they're loaded. And that's where we're going to do it. Because we're like we're like Hannibal Lecter's roller pigeon. That's what we're like Hannibal Lecter's roller pigeon. We'll fly, we'll stop, we'll fly all the way up into the sky. We saw the possibilities. We see the possibilities. We fly all the way up into the sky and then we stop our wings and then we fall all the way back down to the ground and crash. What are we going to do? Where do we go from here? Do we continue to be illogical? Do we continue to be illogical? Another big problem with the egotistical. Okay? They're not logical. I was talking to this Saint when I was, having this conversation, with this sister who, I spoke about at the beginning of this, second episode of, One Angry Black Republican. She was, I made a point about, how women in America, black women specifically, and Mary J. Blige co-signed this. Okay? Black women are the biggest consumers of beauty products, hair products in the world. Biggest consumers. Okay? So it only makes sense that, black women are, getting into, that enterprise on a business level. Maybe if we all, we had more Madam C.J. Walkers out there who, organize, hair product businesses and nail salons. Why are, black women running to, Dominican or Chinese run beauty establishments? When if you're the biggest consumer, you have the most experience, why not build your own shops? Okay, out of your home, out of your basement, I don't care. It's like, you all these sisters out here, doing hair in their basements or doing hair in their rooms, and they, expand. But with the biggest consumers of beauty products, and black people represent the biggest consumers of almost all, care products, hair care and skincare products. Okay? And when you say, how do we change that? How do we do away with that? Do away with it? Huh? Are you stupid? Are you silly? Like, there's no thought of, even if it's logical to do it. Just like it was illogical to, make, try to pressure me, the speed, to get you somewhere on time when you should have planned better. We keep allowing the emotional and the illogical to move us off the cliff, so to speak. That's what we keep doing. We got to stop this. And this is the ideal moment to stop it. There's no way in the world that Joe Biden should be getting the black vote. No way. No way. Not Joe Biden. No way. Right now, Bernie Sanders is the only candidate in the Democratic Party that makes sense. The only candidate that makes sense. Because in the end analysis, we're already divided, and we've been divided. We've been divided. You know, I remember the era where, black people are the most impoverished, and they always point to one, wealthy, happy Negro. I don't see why all you people are struggling. Eddie Murphy made it. Huh. And we hear that same argument today, but the vast majority of, the masses live underneath the radar. Under the radar. So when politicians boast about, we knocked down crime by this much. No, you didn't knock down crime. It stopped getting reported. Even police don't even report some crimes. It ain't reported. But we got a lot of politicians who know how to play that game. Dangle this information in our faces because it's all about having the rebuttal to the argument. And as long as you have the rebuttal to the argument and you have your talking point, you got to vote. You got to vote. Well, in 2020, this election this year, we got to make a tough decision. We got to make a compromise. Yes, I am predicting a Trump win in 2020. I am predicting that, a 2020 win. And I'm predicting that based off of a logical reasoning. Logical. So what do? We're the black football in this game being played out. The Democrats and the Republicans, are tossing back and forth the black football. But the black football is making itself, uncatchable to one party completely. Not even considering voting Republican. Not even considering it. And not only are many are not considering it, the level of rhetoric to try to, paint this brushstroke that all Trump supporters are inherently, racist or deplorable. Well, this particular angry black Republican isn't going to be fit into any box at all. We can debate, we can talk, we can negotiate. Okay, but we're not going to be bullied. We're not going to be marginalized. We're not going to be dismissed. We're going to present the case. So let's stick to the narrative I'm painting here. So don't come at me with these like many, oh my God, how could you vote Trump? How could you vote against, what policies does he have that? Dude, Joey, it's not about that right now. What it's about is us and the weakness of our vote. So the priority is to strengthen our vote.